One of the main arguments that people have against the gender activists is that they create words, they create language, and they try to force everyone to say it. Now, we all know about the pronouns. We all know about some of these other words that they use. But I'm going to give you a list of 20 that you may not have known and that amuse me. So let's get started. So the first one is NB, spelled E-N-B-Y. It is literally just a sounding out of non-binary, NB, the letters NB, non-binary. Non-binary meaning, of course, that they don't identify with any gender and they don't believe that they belong on the gender binary anywhere. Let's see, what's next? Cis. Cis is another very controversial one, especially radical feminists hate this word because it implies the word cis is used to describe someone who's not transgender. So instead of just saying a man, you would say a cis man. And this in particular makes feminists really mad because they are women. They see themselves as women and they identify as women. And for these trans activists to come and call them cis women is insulting. Now, I can understand where they're coming from. This is, it seems like a qualifier given by these activists to non-trans people in order to feel more legitimate themselves. And of course, since they have that moniker of trans ahead of their name, then you get slapped with cis. And literally the only people that use cisgender are trans people, or these trans activists, or people that are trying way too hard to appease them. Very amusing. Number 3, I'm just going to put all the pronouns. So the Z, Zim, Zers, the hi, he, hears, all of those spelled with X's or Z's. Now the Z, Zim, Zers get me because they're Z-E, Z-I-M, or Z-I-R, or Z-E, Z-E-M, or Z-E-R, or X-I, X-I-M, or X-I-R. I hope you could follow that train of thought because I don't think I could. But at any rate, those are some of the very strangest pronouns. They don't, what do they mean? Well, not a whole awful lot unless you live in the Tumblr community, in which case the people on Blue Sky, Tumblr, or Reddit can tell you about the differentiations between these. But really, the main thing is the person sees that pronoun, likes it, and wants to use it. That's where it comes from. I personally don't subscribe to these pronouns. I don't use these pronouns, but I don't use them. I won't do it for somebody else. I won't do it for myself. Those are not words. They're made up terms that are used to identify yourself as part of the cult, in my humble estimation. All right, next we have AFAB and AMAB. AMAB and AFAB. That stands for assigned female at birth and assigned male at birth. So what this actually means is this is a person that was born male or female, but they can't say that because if they were born male and then they become transgender, then they never were male in the first place. So they were always a female. When they were born, they were a female, even though they were a male. Whatever. But the thing is that they say is that the doctor assigned them a gender. The big bad doctor made them this gender, but that's not what they really were. The doctor makes a mistake. That, you know, it's not like the doctor's just looking at the genitals, but that's beside the point. That's beside the point. These are just slang terms that they use. Next, we have allosexual. Allosexual is essentially someone who feels sexually. So, a person, I guess. There doesn't seem really to be, I guess it's kind of the opposite of asexual, but it's, you know, you could just say normal, but I guess that's that's one of those hate words. That's one of those bigot words, and we can't use bigot words. Okay, fine. Next we have clocking. Now clocking is one that I stumbled across today. I'd never heard of clocking before, but apparently clocking is when you are transgender, but you wish that you were not, and so you act like you're not transgender, but you are, but you want to be cisgender, so you try to pretend that you're not transgender. That's the definition that I got. Sure. Again, maybe you're just a normal person who needs therapy. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong about all of this, and they are the ones that are right. They are not the lunatics. Next, after clocking, we have demisexual. Yes, demisexual is someone who only wants to have sex with someone after developing an emotional connection. So, not a slut. That's what demisexual means. Next, we have Gayby. Gayby. A Gayby. A Gayby is someone who has at least one parent who is trans or LGBTQ. I would have guessed it's a baby that's gay from the way that it's spelled, but I guess a Gayby just has a parent who is LGBTQ. So, very cool. Very cool. That's one that I feel like will be used very often. It's going to catch on, and it's going to be the next hot slang on the internet. Next, we have folks with an X, Folx. This is just a way of saying folks as you normally would Folks, but with the X, it's more inclusive. It's just more inclusive that way. Just trust me, bro. I'm sorry, I didn't mean bro. That's offensive. Just trust me. Just trust me. Trust and believe. Okay, now we've got gender euphoria. Gender euphoria is when someone gets super excited that you identified them as the gender that they believe they are. So, like, you're someone who is, you were born male. Oh, I'm sorry. You were assigned male at birth, but then you find out later that you were a female, a trans female the whole time. You're not a cis female, you're a trans female. These are the words that we've learned today. So you say, hi, folks. I am a female. And they say, oh, hello, you're a beautiful girl. And then you get super happy because they acknowledge that you were a female. So that's what gender euphoria is. Gender queer. Gender queer, I guess, means that they don't stay with one gender. They kind of switch. And I don't you gotta be really, 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 like, obsessed with this stuff. Like, these two, like, gender queer and gender euphoria seem like a fetish to me. Like, you know, you get so excited when someone treats you like a gender that you want to be treated as, or you know, in the case of gender queer, you kind of switch roles and behaviors and that sort of, I don't, very, very freaky, very very sexual in nature, it sounds like to me. And then we've got gender fluid, which is very similar to gender queer. So gender fluid, they actively switch back and forth, whereas I guess with gender queer, it's like sliding somewhere in between. Somebody help me out here, because these two sound very, very similar, and I guess I can see like a nuanced difference between them, but this is, I mean, come on. What are we even talking about at this point? Next, we have heteroflexible. So apparently this is not gay, not bi, and not bi-curious. This is someone who is straight, who likes to have sex with people of the same gender. That sounds like bisexual to me. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I guess heteroflexible is somehow different. Yeah. Now we've got nibbling, Nibling, nibbling. Yeah, this is the safe way to say niece or nephew, because of course you don't want to say, you know, nephew if that person identifies as a niece, right? If they identify as a female, well, you might just offend them, so you call them your nibbling. That's the stupidest one of all. Like, in my opinion, just the stupidest. I don't even know where to go from there. Next, we have misogynoir, which is like misogyny, except it's ended with an OIR, and it's French, and it's, I guess, when you're misogynistic against a black person. So I guess there's a different word for that. I thought misogyny covered all of that, but apparently not. Apparently, when it's against black people, it's misogynoir. Way fancier. Maybe that's just our way of, you know, their way of saying, look, you fancy whites, you fancy evil whites out here trying to talk down to us with your misogynoir. Now we've got pansexual. Pansexual, meaning you have sex with people of every gender and every sex, which I guess when I was a kid, we called bisexual. But I guess since we've got all of these extra genders now, we've got to be inclusive. So pansexual. And then there's T4T. That's literally the letter T, the number 4, the letter T, which means you're trans for trans. You only have sex with other trans people and you identify as trans. Very cool. Now we've got a whole bunch of acronyms. So FTM, MTF, FTX, MTX, MTM, and FTM, which mean male to female, female to male, male to X, which is, I don't know, no, not bisexual. That would be, my brain is exploding. Queer? No, that would be non-binary maybe. And then you have MTX, which is the same male to whatever. And then you have MTM and FTF. Now, these are ones I don't really understand. You're transgender, you go male to male, but you're still transgender. And then female to female, but you're still transgender. I do not know how that works. That's one that I puzzled over it, and at one point I thought maybe it made sense, but it didn't, and I am still completely and utterly lost. So if you're interested in that one, Google it a few times, see what you can find, because it took me, I Googled it twice and went down a couple rabbit holes, and I didn't get a satisfactory answer. So let me know what you find out, if you find it out, please. Now, the last two, I grouped them together as well. These are wul and mum. And they're supposed to be pronounced like that, from what I understand. I'm not making that up. So it's WLW and MLM. And that MLM is not for multi-level marketing. It's mum, and it means men-loving men, which is different from gay, and it's different from bi, and it's different from heteroflexible, and is different from bi-curious, somehow. And then there's wool, which again is the way you're supposed to pronounce it, but it stands for women loving women, and it's different from lesbian, and it's different from bi, and it's different from I give up. I don't know. Why is this different? How is this different? Why does anyone care? And most of all, why would anyone go to the trouble of learning all of these? There's 20, and I feel like my brain is about to explode. And there's hundreds of these, guys. Hundreds. So there's a little introduction to some really weird words from the gender activists. If you made it all the way through this video, you're a better man than I. I'm sorry, you're a better they than I. And yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.